Welcome back to Dinner and Aside. I'm Laura. My sister Angie and I are not culinary school trained chefs. We're home cooks, just like many of you. We are not here to teach you chef level skills. We're here to help you become better home cooks.
These 25 tips will elevate your cooking in seconds. We have tested out every shortcut and sneaky tip that we can find. And these are the ones that changed our game and made cooking faster, easier, and way more fun. So let's jump right in.
The fastest way to elevate your cooking and see quick results with little effort is to keep your knives sharp. If you haven't already, invest in a small set of quality knives. And every time before you start cutting, you want to hone your knives. Start at the base of the steel like this and run the knife's blade all the way to the top on both sides 3 to 4 times. This is great for keeping your knives sharp every day, and when they do become dull, you can get them sharpened.
In any successful cooking endeavor, the #1 rule is mise en place. It's a French term for everything in its place, but to me it really means be prepared. It's the secret to cooking without tearing your hair out. Chop and dice your veggies and herbs. Measure and pour your liquid ingredients. I also like to keep a little bowl handy for scraps or trash, just so my work area can stay clean and tidy. Only after you have everything prepped and ready should you start cooking. Trust me, it will make the actual cooking part way more organized and less stressful.
Cooking pasta seems pretty straightforward, right? Cook it, drain it, eat it. Pretty simple, and you can do it that way. But if you really want to elevate your cooking, I would suggest that you treat your pasta more like the star it is. So here are 4 fantastic tips to help you do that. First of all, never break apart long pasta when you cook it. Long pastas like spaghetti, fettuccine, and linguine are meant to be long. They hold onto the sauce and they're meant to be twirled when you eat them. Second, always salt your pasta water generously. You want it to taste a little bit like the sea. I use coarse sea salt for this. This is going to be your first chance to really season and flavor your pasta. It's going to pull in some of that salt as it cooks, and this is way more effective than just salting it at the end. Trust me, it's necessary. Next, always cook your pasta to al dente. The package instructions will generally tell you about where this is, but keep an eye on it. You want it to still have a little bit of bite. That'll keep it firm and enjoyable to eat without it becoming soggy or gummy. One final tip, this is really important. Make sure that you reserve about a cup of that starchy pasta water. This is liquid gold. The starch in the water helps make the sauce extra velvety so that it clings perfectly to your pasta. And it can also be used to adjust the consistency of your sauce if it gets a little too thick. Following these 4 tips will help you make perfect pasta every time.
Chicken breast is probably one of those things that we cook the most often. It goes with everything, right? It's lean and you can dress it up a million different ways. If you want to ensure that you get juicy, flavorful, tender chicken every time, follow these tips. Pound the chicken to an even thickness before marinating. It helps it cook evenly and stay tender. Chicken breast is naturally mild and can taste bland on its own, so we always marinate before cooking it. Always add 3 things: lemon juice, which brightens and tenderizes, soy sauce, which adds umami, and olive oil, which can lock in moisture and create a barrier against high heat. This is all you have to do to get juicy, delicious chicken every time.
Here's another quick tip to help you cook better chicken breast. You might have noticed chicken breast comes really large these days. This is not that easy to cook without it becoming dry and tough. Plus, it's more than 1 serving. So what I like to do is fillet the chicken in half. It's easy to do, just grab a sharp knife, press your palm against the chicken, and cut confidently through the center. Now you have 2 more appropriately sized chicken pieces that will cook faster and more evenly without drying out.
We all want to waste less food and cut down on unnecessary groceries, right? Well, a great way to do that is to save the bread heel that you may be throwing away. You can grind them up into breadcrumbs and freeze to use whenever you need them. Just get out what you need and toast them. You'll never need to buy breadcrumbs again. It's pretty important to use freshly grated Parmesan that you grate yourself from a block. The pre-shredded stuff has additives that don't allow it to be nice and smooth in a sauce. So, grating it yourself is always the best way to go. If you're worried about the cost, a block of Parmesan can seem expensive, but you're definitely going to get your money's worth. Per ounce, It's half the price of pre-shredded cheese.
I love caramelized onions on things like burgers and sandwiches, but they take so long to make. Here's a quick tip I learned that will cut that time in half. First, slice your onions thinly. Put them in a pan over medium heat and just cover them with some water and let it evaporate. Then turn down the heat and let the onions simmer until they're fully caramelized. It takes about 10 minutes instead of 25.
You may have run into this problem before. Adding creamy things such as sour cream or cream cheese to a hot soup can cause it to curdle and break, like this creamy chicken chili I'm making. It has both sour cream and cream cheese. If I add them directly, it might break. The trick is to temper the cream first before you add it to the soup. Add the creamy element, like the sour cream and cream cheese, to a bowl. Then you can add about half a cup of the hot soup and whisk it together. This will gradually temper the mixture, so when you add it back to the soup, it will stay nice and creamy. Trust me, it's worth it to take this extra step, and it only takes minutes.
Is your cutting board sliding around on the countertop when you're trying to work? It can be really frustrating, but it can also be dangerous when you're working with a knife. I always slide a damp paper towel under the cutting board to keep it from moving around.
Ginger has tough fibers that can make it really difficult to grate. But did you know that you can put it in the freezer to make it easier? Just 10 minutes in the freezer is enough to make it firm and easier to grate without those stringy fibers. Plus, frozen ginger lasts longer, so it won't go bad in the fridge. While we're talking about ginger, here's a really easy way to peel it. Take a spoon and run it along the skin. Just the peel will come off without stripping any of the ginger like a peeler would do.
If you always find yourself crying when you slice onions, well, you're not alone, but there are plenty of ways to prevent this. The first one is to make sure that you use a really sharp knife so you don't damage the cells of the onion when you slice. And my personal favorite is to rub a little bit of lemon on both sides of the knife before you slice. Lemon juice neutralizes the sulfur compounds released by the onions and makes it less potent for your eyes. Trust me, it works.
If you aren't toasting your own sesame seeds, you're really missing out. I love the flavor and aroma that freshly toasted sesame seeds brings to things like salad dressing and glazes. But when we buy them in the grocery store, they're either already toasted or they're untoasted and we just don't think about it. You're not getting any flavor out of that. You're going to get the maximum flavor and aroma if you toast your own. It only takes a few minutes over medium-low heat. Then add them directly to your dish or put them in a homemade salad dressing for the most amazing flavor.
If you have a microplaner for zesting lemons and limes or even ginger, you might be doing it wrong. I was zesting like this my whole life until I realized this is much easier. It's easier on your hand and wrist, and it collects all the zest in the tray so that you can put it right into your dish. Try it, it's a game changer.
Garlic is a tricky thing to peel. It's a good thing there are so many hacks to make it easier. When you're in a hurry or just doing a couple of cloves, pressing down on them with the side of your knife is the easiest. But when you want to do a whole bunch at once, putting them in a container and shaking is the way to go. It won't peel all of them for you, but it'll get you closer. Here's the one thing I can't live without in my kitchen. Little glass jars. They are handy for so many different things. You can use them to mix up a sauce or dressing, hold any extra seasoning you mix up, and for storing leftovers.
When the Dijon bottle's empty, don't throw it away. There's just enough left in there to make a great homemade vinaigrette inside the bottle. All you need is half a cup of olive oil, 1/4 of a cup of vinegar, and half a teaspoon of herbs like oregano or basil. Shake it all up. Instant salad dressing, and you can store the rest in the fridge for later.
Meatballs are one of my favorite things to make. I make beef, turkey, and chicken meatballs pretty regularly. Grab the recipe for my favorite turkey meatballs here. I've got 3 fantastic tips for making better meatballs. My best tip is not to overmix, or you're gonna end up with tough meatballs. One of the best ways to make sure that all of your meatballs come out the same size is to use a cookie scoop. Instead of chopping the onions, grate it right into the meat. It blends in a lot better, it helps them stay moist, it holds them together, and it doesn't break up the texture with large chunks of onion.
Now I love chicken skewers, but I don't really love threading each piece of chicken onto a skewer. It takes a lot of time and it's really unnecessary. I learned this great hack. Cut 1 large chicken breast into 4 long strips, then push 5 skewers through the strips. Use a sharp knife to cut between the aisles and you've got 5 perfect skewers in a fraction of the time.
A lot of people don't like the sharp, harsh flavor of raw onion. If you're one of those, you can take the edge off of raw onion by soaking it in ice water for about 20 minutes. It really mellows it out.
Cabbage seems to be having a moment these days, and I don't mind at all because there are like a million ways to cook cabbage, and I love it. But it's probably more because this large head of cabbage costs only $1.50. Depending on how you dress this up, you can have 4 to 6 servings of cabbage for under $4. That's $1 a serving. One of the easiest ways to cook cabbage is in wedges. Cutting the head into wedges with the core still intact gives the most surface area for the flavors and textures that you add, and it helps hold the wedges together. You can always trim the core out after cooking if you don't want to eat it. Look at how delicious this brown butter cabbage looks. Grab the recipe for later.
I want to show you this great tip for how to cut the corn off of a cob. This way you will not have corn flying all over the place. Just lay the corn on its side on a cutting board. Then slice down the side of the cob with a sharp knife. See how easy that is?
Once you've cut open an avocado, it'll go brown almost immediately from oxidation. I found that there are 2 ways to keep that from happening. One is to store it with the pit still in. Whether you're just storing half of it or you've got a little bit of this side left, you can keep it all together and that'll stay green longer on the inside. Another is to store it with an onion. The sulfur compounds from the onion will keep the avocado green longer too.
While we're talking avocados, if you want to store guacamole longer without it going brown, squeeze on some lime or lemon juice and cover it well with plastic wrap. It'll keep for at least a day or 2.
Orange sections add so much flavor to a salad, but you'll have to learn how to supreme or section it first. Here's how. Cut both ends off the orange, then cut along the curve of the orange to remove the pith and the peel. Now just use a sharp knife to cut out the sections. It's easier than you think.
If even one of these hacks makes your life easier, we've done our job. And if you know of another kitchen trick that we should know about, leave it in the comments below. We are always looking for new ways to make cooking faster, tastier, and more fun.